Let's talk about how to get your clients' financed offers accepted in a competitive seller's market. A mortgage contingency is the time frame in which your client has to get their loan approved conditionally, or ideally with as few conditions as possible. To start, you have a mortgage contingency time frame. This is typically about 3 weeks from the date you go under contract. That is because you have a period of time to have inspections completed, if they're going to be. And after that is typically when an appraisal is ordered. An appraiser is sent out to the property to provide an unbiased opinion of value. And that report is then sent back and reviewed by your lending department. After that, your file is further completed and sent to underwriting for review, and then your loan is approved. This time frame and this mortgage contingency, which means that your offer is contingent on this playing out and your loan being approved. It essentially protects your client's deposit. You can offer without a mortgage contingency while having a financed offer. And a lot of agents don't realize this. But again, that date protects your client's deposit. The conversation to have with your client is, do you think that anything is going to change with your job stability or situation in the next 3 weeks? And if they're locked into a long-term, steady job, they're gonna be like, probably not. Or if they're uncertain about it, you might still want to include that contingency. But it essentially means that if for some reason the loan is denied, their deposit would now be at risk. If your client is confident with their financial situation remaining unchanged for the next foreseeable 2 to 3 weeks before that mortgage contingency date, then they can decide to forego that contingency on the contract. This is going to get their offer as close to a cash offer as possible. They're taking away that risk to the seller, and they're giving that extra reassurance that this deal is not going to fall apart. One of the most important ways you can strengthen your financed offer is through the appraisal aspect. And first, you have to understand how to properly explain what an appraisal is to your clients. It's your lender hiring a third party to come out and offer an unbiased opinion of value. And this is important because you want your offer price to match up to what the appraiser thinks the home is worth. Otherwise, your loan will not be approved. So here's a chance for the deal to fall apart. And remember, a seller is accepting an offer that has the least chance of falling apart because they're planning for their next move and their future. So what an appraiser does is they look at recently closed sales that are as similar as possible to the condition, style as the home that your client is looking to purchase. And what they do is they make adjustments for any differences to make it seem as if your house that you're looking to buy sold last month when that other one did, and it was in the exact condition, style, square footage. This gives you an idea of current market value. So there are exact numbers and inputs that an appraiser is going to use to account for those adjustments and differences. But the reason appraisals are such a hot topic is because part of that appraiser's valuation is left to their opinion. They can adjust for up to 10% for overall home condition and location. But where that 10% they fall is going to be left up to their personal opinion. So you could have 4 appraisers come in and value the same property and come up with slightly different numbers. So again, our goal on the buying side is how can we best reassure the seller that this is a rock solid offer that they are accepting. And to get ahead of those possible differences in opinion by appraisers, we can add certain terms to make this very, very appealing to the seller. And what that looks like is your client has to be in a particular financial position for this to be possible. They have to have additional available funds beyond their down payment and deposit that they could essentially offer in addition to their financed amount to cover a possible discrepancy between the appraised value and contract price. So going into this, we know what an appraisal is. It's somebody's opinion of this home's value. If we explain to our clients that this is not necessarily the tried and true only valuation for this property they're going to buy, we get ahead of that objection of, I don't want to pay more than a home is worth, which is a common statement we hear buyers very strongly state. And that's okay. And especially in a seller's market where, how I describe to my clients, you likely have to pay what a home is worth and then a little bit more to actually get your offer accepted, to stand out in a multiple offer situation. You're stating, I understand I'm giving a strong offer, and if for some reason the appraiser does not have enough data to support this amount, I'm willing to bring forward at least this much to cover a possible difference. Sometimes buyers say, I don't care what it appraises at, I'm willing to cover any difference. I like to advise my clients to pick a number that they're comfortable with. In certain price points, this could be as high as $70,000 to $90,000. In price points that are closer to the $200,000, $400,000 range, we might see this be as low as $5,000. It really can't hurt to put any amount that your client is comfortable with. Because if a seller has a home listed for $500,000, somebody could come in and offer $700,000. But unless there's a guarantee that that loan is going to be approved for $700,000, that might not be the strongest offer in front of them. So all of these terms that we're able to include offers that reassurance to the seller that we understand that not every single part of this transaction is going to be foreseeable. So if we're able to say in the scenario that the appraised value does not match up to the contract price, we have extra cash, we're willing to spend it if we need to. You're strengthening your offer and letting the seller know that you're serious and you're looking to see this through beyond any bumps in the road. Now, waiving the mortgage contingency date and strengthening your appraisal gap coverage are both fantastic terms to add to a financed offer. Beyond that, your client might not have the ability to include either of those. Another great way to strengthen your financed offer is to have your client get fully underwritten. What does that mean? With different lenders, you might see this program called Green Light or just pre-underwritten. No matter what it's called, if you mention this to your lender, they will have an idea of what you're talking about. And what this is essentially preparing your client's file as much as they possibly can so you can put a shorter closing date on your contract. Typically, we have a period of time for inspections, time for the appraisal, and then that last week or so of your closing time frame is for your client to send over all the necessary documents to get their file completed, and then it's sent to the underwriting department to be reviewed and approved before you receive your mortgage commitment. Now, essentially, getting all those documents prepared ahead of time and getting that file sent to underwriting even before you have a property that you are under contract on is getting ahead as much as possible and having your client be prepared to potentially offer with a 21-day closing period. This can be extremely valuable if you're offering in a multiple offer environment where you might even be competing with cash offers or other potential buyers who have a similar ability to offer a very short closing time frame. This, of course, is only valuable if a seller is looking for a short closing period, but it helps just prepare your client regardless. And the worst case scenario is they got all those documents over to their lender a little bit sooner than they needed to. A last very valuable tactic that is not utilized by many agents is to have your lender personally reach out to the listing agent. Hearing from the person who's personally reviewed all of those tax documents, pay stubs, and asset verification can really offer a reassurance to the listing agent to then relay to the seller that this is a very well-approved buyer. I can personally say if I don't receive a phone call from a buyer's agent or a lender, I might have some questions. Hearing again that one extra step taken just shows me that that buyer's agent is going above and beyond and is offering the absolute best that their client is able to in a difficult market. Whether your client chooses to waive a mortgage contingency date, add an appraisal gap coverage, get fully underwritten, or have a lender personally reach out to a listing agent, it is your job to offer these all as fantastic solutions to make an offer as competitive as possible in a difficult seller's market.